I just finished reading 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami, and boy are my arms tired. That book is to date the longest book I've ever read, eclipsing the former longest, Killing Commendator. And let me tell you, it does not build up my faith in long novels. I'm going to go over my thoughts on 1Q84, offer my recommendation, and then I will rank the 6 Murakami novels I have read thus far. I'm not going to give any spoilers to 1Q84 or the other books I mentioned in this video, but I will reference characters, general ideas, and the plot vaguely. First, let's go over a very concise description of the book's plot. 1Q84 follows Tango and Aomame in a rich story intertwined like a strand of DNA around a metaphysical battle with a mysterious cult. Sounds interesting, right? Well, some of it is. What I have found to be true in other Murakami novels I've read is still true in this one. His writing is clear, engaging, and accessible, and a pleasure to experience. However, in 1Q84 I felt that his descriptions, metaphors, and imaginative prose was not as strong as in his other novels. This may be due to my growing familiarity with his style, which might just not appear as fresh to me. His characters are very Murakamian. They seem bland and overly mild-mannered, but have rich internal lives and wonderful powers of deduction. Reading the characters' thoughts reminds me of stand users in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure who take an advantage in battle by exercising an adept perception of physics and human psychology. I'm a big fan of Murakami, and the criticism I have towards his novels is a relative one. I have found some of his novels to be so tight and engrossing, but the slow burn of this novel did not pay off. When reflecting on the novel, many parts of the story seem like filler. This has been noted in other reviews I've seen, that Murakami repeats parts of the story like Tango had entered into a dangerous situation by writing Air Chrysalis in too many chapters as a reference, when it could be implied or rather stored in the reader's memory, and other instances such as this. This book has a magnificent length of 1,184 pages in paperback, or about 2,960 taps on Kindle. There is a significant event that occurs in book 2. The novel comprises 3 books, and that is where I would recommend stopping unless you are a die-hard Murakami fan, such as myself. I persisted with this book and previously with Killing Commendator and came to the same realization at the end. It wasn't worth slogging through it all. For most interested parties, I would say pass on this one, or at least come to it after you've read some of his other shorter novels, such as the ones I'm about to mention. I've now read a total of 6 novels by Murakami, so I want to rank them. Number 1, Kafka on the Shore, one of my, if not my favorite novel. This book brings all of Murakami's powers together and executes perfectly, like the classical symphony he is so fond of. His other books show these powers, but Kafka is a mastery. I found the entire book provoking and will read it again someday. The 2 stories of Kafka and Nakata are so stimulating. This novel wends around the joint storyline in such a beautiful fashion it could not be more beat to beat as a novel. His descriptions are perfect to describe the world and then move on to significant developments in the plot. Number 2. The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, which is the first Murakami novel I read. I read it on a beach outside Portland, Oregon on Sundays, and it was a Lynchian delight. Originally I thought this book was just pretty good, but over time I have found myself referring to it as a deep work, such that I elevated its status to excellent. It's very engaging, but a little less tight than Kafka. Tora falls through a surreal world reminiscent of a modern thriller movie, and interacts with the dark world that is very close to him. This book builds up a mental image that is quite vivid and rich, with intrigue and dramatic tension. Number 3. Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. This book is still excellent in the same magical realism realm as the previous 2 novels, but is just less sharp. However, to be fair, it does create 2 parallel worlds in the work that are very engrossing, and I often think of the end of the world plotline as being meaningful and intellectually provoking. A Chekhov gun or 2 doesn't go off. Number 4, Norwegian Wood. In a similar way to the previous 2, this book seemed just good at first, but has surfaced as excellent. Another Toru moves through a college experience in Japan amidst social change. There is no magical realism in this novel, but it is a time period piece which brings to life a world of the 1960s that's very compelling, especially for an American. I have been to Japan twice, so especially with this reference point, imagining a parallel 60s culture in Japan with dreamy rose-colored glasses feels oddly nostalgic. The book is very pretty and instills reminiscence from the perspective of an aged person reflecting on their youth. I want to say, I like these next two novels. They're still very good reads. However, compared to his other work, these next two entries occupy the lowest rungs of the Murakami ranking. They are still good stories with fun characters and a great read in the same way you imagine watching Saturday morning cartoons when you were a kid. And I mean that as a compliment. Number 5, the aforementioned 1Q84. This is still a good book. The story does remain mostly interesting for the length, but definitely peaks in the middle and goes down after that. Also, the end wraps up very succinctly. These are my main complaints. Number 6, Killing Commendator, which follows a protagonist very similar to Wind-Up's Toru and 1Q84's Tango, who moves to live an isolated painter's life in a mountainous town. The unnamed portrait painter, I found out he didn't have a name when I was researching for this video, and it made me think of Drive. Unnamed portrait painter meets a mysterious man and unexpected things unfold as he attempts to paint a profound masterpiece. Good novel, but very long at 752 pages in paperback. There are multiple unshot Chekhov guns in this novel. Peaks before the end, but still has the pleasant cadence and storytelling style as Murakami. I will read more Murakami in the future. I currently have this paperback of Hear the Wind Sing and Pinball 1973, which I will read soon enough. And I also plan to read Vonnegut's The Sirens of Titan soon. As far as Vonnegut, I have read Slaughterhouse-Five, Cat's Cradle, Breakfast of Champions, and Hocus Pocus. I could rank my favorite Kurt Vonnegut novels if that's something people are interested in. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. I've never made a video about reading. Until now, I think most of my viewers didn't think I could read.